What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Tradesmen Talks, where we talk about tips and tricks and strategies to ideally get you closer to your goal. Whether you're looking to start a business or whether you're looking to improve your existing one, we want to talk about ways that you can make those improvements. And you might be familiar with me and Wilson already. And so we'll just kind of dive into another episode. And today I wanted to go into specifically the benefits of shifting your focus and how a lot of people tend to hold themselves back because of their viewpoint on things or their beliefs that they have towards certain situations. And so wanted to talk about how shifting those viewpoints or shifting your beliefs a little bit can dramatically impact the results that you have.
Well, since you've gotten so famous with the how do I know, Stephen, how do I know when my beliefs are misaligned or not serving me?
Well, if you can at least acknowledge that you're not where you want to be in life, maybe you're on a journey towards your goals, which is great. And, there isn't necessarily too much value on being too hard on yourself. But a lot of people that you speak to, they fully are aware that they're not where they want to be. And maybe they have accepted the idea that they're heading in the wrong direction. And so if you can get to the point where you can acknowledge that you're kind of veering off the path you want to be on, then that's the biggest step. And that gives you a little bit of momentum behind making the right decisions. And it might be worthwhile reflecting on how you got to where you are. If you are starting to veer off, it may in fact be a result of your viewpoint on things.
Yeah.
And you can attest for this. For those listening, Wilson does calls with people all day, every day, pretty much, with people that are interested in, I think you're muted, but with people, there you go, with people that are interested in learning from us or taking our programs to improve or start their trade-based business. And a lot of these guys that Wilson is speaking to, they have a belief system problem where we can show them and prove to them and explain to them exactly what we have done to build seven-figure businesses. And they will spend most of the time trying to convince us how it's not going to work for them or how we might be wrong, even though we're actively still running those businesses. So it's one of those things that typically is a result of the individual holding themselves back, not necessarily the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I always look for is if you find yourself saying two things that you believe to be true, but when you put them right next to each other, they can't coexist. That usually means you've got some kind of cognitive bias, like messing you up. I had an actually really interesting conversation, and this guy needed our help. He really needed our help, especially when it came to like the marketing. And one of the things he told me is, he wants to do more cabinet refinishing jobs. He wants to be in kitchens. He wants to be in kitchens in nicer homes. And I was like, well, tell me about your marketing. He said, we pass out flyers at a church that does free lunches during the middle of the day, twice a week. And wow. I was like, okay. So, essentially you're selling kitchen services to people that most likely don't have kitchens. They don't even have food, let alone kitchens.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, man, but it's working. And I said, okay, well, is your business where you want it to be? He said, well, no. And I was like, well, man, in my world, if something's working, it's because I've reached the goal that I was working towards. Otherwise, I'd say it's not working. Yeah. And that disconnect is hard for people to step back and see.
Right. And if I remember you telling me more about this, he had acquired maybe one customer in the lifespan of him doing this. And so that one conversion led him to believe that approach works.
Right.
And, selling services, that could be seen as a luxury item. We're changing people's cabinets. We're not giving people cabinets that didn't have any. And so it's not necessarily a hard need, but you're promoting those services in a line of people that literally can't afford to feed themselves.
Sure.
And so from the outside looking in, that seems like an obvious, inefficient, and should be ineffective way to to promote and market your business. But the fact that he got one conversion has now instilled a belief in him that is now driving his attention potentially, I think it'd be a safe bet to say, on the wrong approach.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because of that one belief that he holds, he wants to spend a good portion of the call with you convincing you that that was a good thing without asking you questions. Well, how did you build your 6 and 7 figure businesses?
Right.
And there's a saying that, like, people don't believe what they see, they actually see what they believe.
Mm.
And our eyes become open to what we expect to see usually, rather than what could actually be there.
Right.
There's kind of a situation where you're in the kitchen looking for salt, and you're looking in the pantry for 10 minutes, but then you ask your wife or your girlfriend, where's the salt? And she can point it out to you in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's because she knows where it's at and she has a different belief on where the salt is. And she can be a lot more observant in that situation. And so a lot of people get held back by this cognitive bias, which simply is a predetermined belief on a topic, an idea, a situation. And if it's not serving you, you need to acknowledge that as fast as you possibly can. And the question could become, well, how do you acknowledge that? Because if it's a belief system, it might be very hard to question.
Yeah.
Someone who's very curious and open-minded may not have as calcified beliefs, and so they can question themselves a lot easier. But people that have had the same mental habits for years and years may not even recognize there's a problem, and their habit becomes pointing to things or people outside of themselves as to be the culprit of their situation or their problem. And so asking the question, well, how do I know if my beliefs are serving me or not? It's hard to give you a specific answer. That's why at the beginning of this video we talked about at least acknowledging if you are on the right path. Are you getting the results that you want? Not necessarily need, because that could also be a distorted belief, what you believe you think you need. But be as bold as you possibly can imagine. Literally, you are limited by your imagination, and if you can really work hard on believing that, and it will better serve you to truly believe anything is possible than it would be to believe that very small things are only possible for you. If you
Doomed
if
to your current circumstances, you know.
Yeah, you fundamentally believe that you are limited by your own imagination, it might inspire you to start thinking a little bit bigger, and then start working towards that goal. And you're going to come across things that might be in your way, and you can focus on achieving or overcoming that specific obstacle. But you got to first get out of your own way with your belief system. And if you believe you can and you believe you can't, you're usually going to be right. I think I heard that from Will Smith, who probably heard it from someone else, who probably heard it from someone else. But, you know, those who believe they can and those who believe they can't are usually both right. We're limited by our belief system. And so we want to encourage you on this video to really go bold with what your goals are. And break those big goals down into steps so you have a practical plan.
Right.
Don't say I'm going to go and build a cabinet empire and not even have a cabinet business to grow. First let's grow the business and then focus on scaling it.
Right.
But believe in yourself and your capabilities to actually achieve your goals, and break those goals down into steps and start looking for those answers as questions pop up. And don't be so convinced that what you think is true. A lot of us, fall victim to our own thoughts and don't even realize it, because we actually believe what we think is real and what we think is true. Well, what we think typically is just a digestion of all the information in front of us. And some of us don't get that high quality of information. And so when our thoughts are running us and these thoughts are low quality and may not align with what we want out of life, your thoughts might lead you astray. And so
Well,
I
there's
ran.
there's actually two really interesting things there, because one of the things that I think is a really important point of development for people, especially on the entrepreneurial journey, is recognizing at a certain point that you are not your thoughts.
Right.
We all have crappy thoughts from time to time. Like we all have limiting beliefs or self doubts, or like if you could go to prison for thoughts, most people would be in prison. It's like
Sure.
we all think things that don't line up with who we are. But oftentimes, if we have a belief system that we've adopted from somebody else, we don't always question that, right? Like if you grew up in a household where people are like, we've never had money and we never will, the system's against us, you may believe that that's true. You never work to get past it. If you grew up in a situation where your family told you could do anything you wanted, well, you probably believe it and you might go do it. And so recognizing whether or not the thoughts that you have actually relate to the reality that you want, and knowing that those two things aren't necessarily the same is a huge first step. But then I like, once you picked a dream, because I meet some people sometimes that they have big goals and big beliefs in themselves, but they haven't actually mapped any of it out, right? And big dreams with no plan is just illusion.
For sure.
And that's not fun either. It's like if you want to get that, one of the ways you end that cognitive bias is like, once you've decided on what it is that you want, if you want to make $1 million, like, okay, cool, what does that take, right? Do you need a business that makes $20,000 a week? If that's the number, okay, cool. Can your business do that? How many crews do you need? What is the actual operations behind that? Like, all that can be broken down. But first you have to decide that it's real. You have to decide that it can be done, and you have to decide you're going to figure it out. And the best thing with all of this is, unless you're inventing some just crazy shit that's never happened before, props to Elon. For the rest of us, like, Wilson, can you build a 7-figure cabinet business? Yeah. Why? Because my buddy Steven told me what to do. It was really easy, right? I was like, I know if Steven gives me directions, I can follow them.
Right. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. If you literally just decide what you want, and obviously this is in regards to business right now, but if you decide what you want with your business, there are plenty of people willing to tell you what to do.
Yep.
Some of them will do it for free because they start to understand the lack of implementation there is out there.
Yeah.
People literally have given us $20,000+ to tell them what to do, and they go home and don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
That has happened a couple times, and it's very sad, but it's real.
And it's frustrating. It sucks for everybody.
Because, once you get to a certain point, you realize information is not the only missing puzzle piece.
Right. Well,
but a lot of people are missing the information that we're speaking to right now. And so if you first decide what you want, you can simply go find someone that has acquired what you want. Ask them what they did and literally just go do what they did. And you will likely get much closer to your goal. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. But it's the belief system and the thoughts that hold you back. It's such a impulse to overcomplicate things, because if we accepted the fact that the solution is much easier than we believe it is, then it leaves us to taking accountability and responsibility over being where we're at. And that's a very hard thing for some people to do, because they got a family, they got all these responsibilities. Life is supposed to be hard.
Yeah,
and if it's not hard, then I'm the lazy asshole that's just not doing anything. And no one,
it's to be fat because McDonald's is unhealthy than it is right. Because you don't take care of your diet, right? 100%. Well, and dude, it's funny because for every out of 50 people that have come through our program, I think we've had 2 that flat out did not succeed. And
yeah, it's rare.
We've got over 3 now that are doing over 7 figures, not including your my shops. That's them. And the funny thing is, those people got the same information. And so I used to laugh because people sometimes say, well, knowledge is power. I'm like, no, it's not. I know a lot of smart, broke people. Right. If that was the case, our world would be ruled by college professors. And that is most.
And I don't know too many, professors or librarians. Like, they're not that influential.
No, they're typically not. And that's because they don't necessarily have the action behind the knowledge. It takes both. Sometimes we've told people, I've had people that are like, yeah, well, why don't you just give it to me and see how to do it? It's like, because dude, if I gave it to you for free, you probably wouldn't even complete the course,
Yeah.
right? If you have no buy-in, you're probably not going to do it, because if it's free, are you going to believe that it has value?
Yeah, there typically seems to be a natural need for an exchange of
Mhm.
effort of some kind, because then you fall into that kind of sunk cost fallacy where the more we invest into something, the more committed we become, even if it hurts us sometimes. But it's a human nature thing that usually serves us. The more we put energy into something, the more we commit to something, the easier it becomes to stay committed.
Yes.
um, and so you can kind of use that to your advantage.
Well, what's that? That is one of the gamblers' fallacies, the pot full fallacy. That's like a known. They've done tests on that. Like there's full on statistical models that show the degree to which people will throw money away into a losing hand, right?
Yeah. And
Because
you'll find plenty of multi-millionaire business owners building and running a business they fucking hate.
oh yeah, I
It's,
I did
it
that.
becomes an addiction.
I did that. Yeah, that was solar for us. Yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
It was not great.
And so, use that to your advantage. It's much better to make a big shift in your life when you have resources. And so go ahead and build the business, even if you think you're gonna like it. Build it to where you can sell it later on.
Yeah.
you know, don't
One
don't
thing
become a prison in your business, but give yourself options.
I've always wished, one of the things I think is really interesting is like growing up, I don't, I didn't know many millionaires.
Yeah.
Not, I don't. I'm sure there were plenty where we grew up. I just didn't know any. The only one that might have been a millionaire was my friend's dad, and you would have never known he was a millionaire, which coincidentally is the case with a lot of millionaires, right?
Yeah.
A lot of wealthy people don't flaunt it, and
Correct.
I thought it was really interesting because when you meet super successful guys, I've met several guys worth upwards of 100 million, and the weirdest thing about meeting somebody that's worth 100 million is they're really not that much different from anybody else.
Yeah.
They're
That's
human.
why people will falsely assume it was because of luck.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, he did it, so it must be pure luck, but it's not that. It's just when you recognize that these other people were able to do it, there's nothing special about them. The biggest thing that separates those two groups is one of them went for it and then found a way. And most of those guys, if you ask them, one in particular guy comes to mind, Jerry, said, Jerry, how'd you get so wealthy? And he said, well, if you ever see a turtle on a fence post, you know he didn't get there himself. It's like, yeah, right. Most really wealthy people got there because they had help, but not help like handouts. It's not free help. They had somebody that gave them advice and they went and they took action on it. They let
Right. One key thing you said was they found a way.
Yep.
That's the biggest difference is finding a way. Well, if your goal is to build a business, find a way to build the business. Once you have the business, then you want to grow it. Well, then find a way to grow it. Maybe you want it more profitable. Find a way to make it more profitable rather than overcomplicating all this shit. It's so much easier to overcomplicate things. Super successful people, some of these billionaires, you listen to them, they could be described as sounding very simple, even maybe dumb at times, because it's not that they're dumb, it's just they're so good at simplifying complex situations that they can identify the specific problem that needs to be solved in order to get to the next level, and they just continue to simplify these complex things in their business that allows them to achieve success so much faster because they're able to see through all the white static or hear clear things through all the noise, and that becomes a skill. But the good thing about that is that skill can be developed and it becomes a habit, it becomes a compulsion later on. And if you focus that compulsion and that skill in a business, that business is going to be successful regardless of what you sell or provide as a service.
Yeah, 100%. Well, the other thing that's really interesting is most of the people I've met that are, upwards of 8, 9 figure wealth. And it's not like I hang out with them all the time, but one of the things that you also notice is they invested in themselves well before they ever started investing in a lot of things.
Hmm.
Is that something that I think is kind of unique? Like you see these people and you go, that person's not that much smarter than me, or that person's not that much more interesting. But what they have done is they develop skills, and skills have value. And the skill of being able to see through the white noise and collapse it into something really simple is massive, right? And that's a skill you learn, right? The skill to be able to promote your business, even like little stuff, right? The skill to know what things customers like and what they don't, the skill to know what are going to be major pitfalls before they ever happen. Like all those things, it's a developed thing that you've learned, but you probably invested either time or money to learn it.
Absolutely. And to kind of reel this back into a level that might be more relevant to the listeners, all of us, we're still in our own right, small business owners. Some people haven't even started their business yet.
Right.
But to have that fundamental understanding that the solution exists, it's probably not as hard as you believe it is. And someone very close to you has the solution.
Yeah.
If you fully believe those things, it's just a matter of taking action.
Right.
But don't let the disbelief in those things prevent you from taking action. As they say, you can build a business by jumping off a building and you'll figure it out as on your way down. Build the parachute on the way down. That may not have been absolutely accurate, but if you just take action, you'll figure things out, because as you take action, your mindset starts to change, your skills start to develop, and you literally become a different person. And for those of you that are blessed and lucky enough to understand that working on your mindset first can dramatically and exponentially increase the results that you're able to produce, you'll be able to produce results a lot more effectively. The phrase be, do, have, where if you want to have something, you first maybe need to figure out what you need to do. But before you do those things, you may need to figure out who you need to be, your behaviors. Are you the type of person that's solution oriented? Are you a little bit more optimistic about your own future? Are you the type of person to ask for help when you need it? Are you the type of person to take action when you can clearly understand the next steps, or not? You just take action. Like, what type of person do you need to be in order to do the things that you need to do to have the things that you want in your life? And if you focus on these mental characteristics first, you're going to make progress so much faster, because you won't be distracted by all the bullshit that's going to surround you. Really, there's billions and billions and even trillions of dollars that are going into distracting you, going into making you believe that you don't have what you need already to succeed, making you believe that your market is oversaturated, or online marketing doesn't work, or it's too hard to hire people right now because they want to get paid too much, or inflation is so out of control, I can't afford materials. Like, all of these things are being pushed on you to believe, because those authors are benefiting from those narratives, and it's just their own business. And as soon as you start creating a new story for yourself and start believing that new narrative, you can then go and project your own story. Maybe it's a business that you serve people with, maybe it's a community that you build by inspiring others. Whatever you want to do, you got to first convince yourself, and then you can start educating and hopefully influencing others in a positive way. But you got to start with yourself and the beliefs that you have. And if you don't have the results that you want, recognize and just blindly accept the idea that your beliefs can be improved, because it's a safe assumption that anyone can say that statement, that their beliefs need to be improved. And so start with that.
Yeah. Well, so the be do have thing is a hard thing to sometimes wrap your mind around. It's a tough concept sometimes, but letting go, like you just talked about, is the first thing. And to give like a really tangible example, one of the things that I see sometimes with contractors are like, all these people are undercutting me, but with all these low prices around, I can't charge what I'm worth. I'm like, well, maybe, but if you're being the type of company that charges low prices, you probably don't have the stuff that type of company that charges high prices has. So like, if you're going to be a company that charges high price, all right, you're going to have to start doing those things. Like we're a high-end company, so you need a high-end website.
Yep.
which is not expensive, right?
Yeah.
You spend $500 and get an incredible website, right? You need to have high-end presentation. That's free. You control it entirely. You need to have high-end marketing. Again, you can send all those emails yourself for free dollars, right? All of that stuff, it's not about the price, it's about the experience. And you as an owner can be that. You can set those standards for yourself. And when that's the standard you're set, you're going to do all those things because you'll never find a seven-figure business that doesn't take care of the customers in that way. And so it becomes a reality. And then sure enough, people start paying you twice what they pay their competitors. I laugh sometimes. Home Depot charges 2 times what we charge, and we're one of the most expensive ones in the market
Yeah.
because
And they don't even do the work.
Nope. they've got it figured out.
They have things dialed in so well to where they can charge twice as much and not even do the work.
Right.
And so that's proof to some people's contrary beliefs. The fact that Home Depot can build a 10-figure business, which it very much is, even per state.
Right.
The home services division of Home Depot, people don't realize is freaking massive.
Right.
Just in Florida alone, they're doing over 50 million a year. It's absolutely insane. Making billions of dollars a year, providing services that they don't even provide. But they've done what's that?
It's a good model.
Yeah, it's something that can be done when you have such a strong brand and you have distribution systems and you have a network established to bring in fulfillment systems. But a lot of the beliefs that you currently have are holding you back.
Yeah.
And depending on where you're at in your journey of building your business, try to look into what other people are doing and just go and do it, regardless of what you think. Even if you think it's not going to work, if someone else is doing it and they're getting the results, it should be proof that it can work. And so what if it does work? You're going to benefit from it. And if it doesn't work, well, you'll be right then. So, either way you win.
Yeah.
So go ahead and just take action. The, worst case scenario, maybe you'll make some money.
Yeah. But if given the choice, doing it the right way is better than being right. Because that is the thing.
Absolutely.
People self-sabotage so that they can be right. It's the weirdest thing. But I mean, seriously, that statement right there, just go do it. That will make the average contractor an extra $20,000-$30,000 a year if they just start doing it. Like what's this
Absolutely.
what's this 600-pound gorilla in your market doing? And go do it. And if you're not sure, go audit them. Right? Like if you're a painter and you're not sure what the best painter in your market's doing, have him come paint your house.
Right. Get a quote.
Yeah, maybe not paint your house, but at least get the quote.
Yeah. See how they follow up with you before they even show up to your house. See how they text you before they're on their way. See how they present themselves in the appointment and then follow up with you afterwards. Maybe they send you testimonials. Maybe they show you before and after pictures. Maybe they have an actual logo on their shirt. Some of these things may surprise you. And most of these things, as Wilson pointed out, are not that expensive to implement. Some of these things are free. But if you're willing to do those things and you can get the results that these 7, 8, and 10, even 10-figure companies are producing, so we encourage you to take all of this and just go apply it. Figure out what you want to do, find someone that's already doing it, and just do what they're doing.
Yep. You got the knowledge, take the action.
Absolutely. Well, we'll wrap it up there, guys. I really hope this brought some inspiration and some maybe even reminders to what you already knew. Would love to hear from you guys. If you want to shoot us over an email at support@cabinetstartup.com. Let us know what you're trying to do. We'd love to give you some guidance and some clarity if that's what you're needing. We'd love to help you out any way we can. Other than that, we'll talk to you guys same place, same time next week. Have a great one.